You would be hard-pressed to find a story crazier than Trey Yesavage's journey so far this MLB season. To prove that, I asked ChatGPT how many times has an MLB pitcher started less than 5 games in a regular season and then proceeded to start multiple games in the postseason. Now, completely taking away performance overall, ChatGPT told me this has only happened 3 times since 1990. Now, a challenge for you guys. Let me know in the comments below, what are the other 2 times that this has occurred? I'll give you a hint. One of the other times was actually in this season as well. That probably makes it pretty easy, but let me know. So Trey Yesavage is a right-handed pitcher who lives and dies off of his splitter, which is super unique in the MLB today. He doesn't have an overpowering fastball, but he is able to get it up to 96, 97 at times. And from the small sample we've seen so far in his MLB career, the splitter has been super effective. And he also does mix a slider in occasionally here and there. Now, I want to start by walking us through Trey Yesavage's journey from where he was in April to where he is now, about to start the very first game in the MLB World Series, which is absolutely wild to say for somebody who is 22 years old and was pitching in Single A last April. Not to mention, it's very likely the Blue Jays are going to be relying on Yesavage to pitch once again 2 games this series. So April 2nd, 2025, Trey Yesavage makes his Single A first appearance of the season. He pitched really well in the Single A for about a month when he would eventually get promoted to High A, where he pitched in Vancouver. Less than a month later, he would get promoted again to Double A, where he pitched in New Hampshire. And then another month goes by. August 12th, he got promoted to Triple A, where he pitched in Buffalo. Now, all of that itself for a minor league pitcher is impressive. To make your ranking up that quickly in the minor leagues is not easy and doesn't happen often. But here's where things get even crazier. September 15th, about a month after he made his AAA debut, he gets his first big league start for the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, over the last couple weeks of the season, he was able to make 3 starts for the Blue Jays. Now, in that time, he obviously gained the Toronto Blue Jays' trust as he was able to put up an ERA of 3.21 and also record 16 strikeouts, being super effective once again with his splitter and also a pretty good fastball. So again, Yesavage makes 3 starts in the regular season, gains the Toronto Blue Jays' trust enough to where they rely on him heavily in the postseason, in a season in which they want to win the World Series. Now, normally that would be crazy, but Yesavage has been so effective so far in the small sample size of his career that it kind of checks out. Now, so far in the postseason, Yesavage has been super gutsy for the Blue Jays, reaching near 6 innings pitched in all 3 of his appearances. His ERA is a 4.2, but that is heavily impacted by the 3-run home run that he gave up against the Mariners. So in all reality, if he could have avoided that spot, his ERA would be much lower, and ultimately the important thing is the team is 2-1 in the games he has appeared. And if you watch his performances so far this season, he's been able to get out of situations where there's been traffic on the bases, and you would have no idea this guy just made his MLB debut less than a month ago. So all of that said, it leads us to the World Series, where Trey Yesavage is set to start games 1 and 5. Now, it's hard to predict how he's going to pitch in this spot. The Dodgers have a loaded lineup, and if we look at Trey Yesavage's pitch split, he's throwing a fastball about 45% of the time, his slider 29% of the time, and his splitter 26% of the time. And if you're watching him on TV, it seems like the splitter is much more common than that, and it's because he uses the splitter in super high leverage situations. He trusts that pitch the most to get strikeouts, to get, low power hits, ground outs, pop outs, things like this. Now, there's one thing that worries me about Trey Yesavage in the World Series, and it's the fact that Shohei Ohtani absolutely crushes splitters. He pretty much abuses any pitcher that heavily prioritizes the splitter. However, Ohtani hasn't actually had the luxury of seeing Trey Yesavage and his pitches yet in person, so I think for game 1 that might give Yesavage a little bit of an upper hand. Overall, though, I wouldn't be surprised if the Blue Jays are super conservative whenever Ohtani does come up to the plate, particularly in the spots where he is facing Yesavage. And I think we could definitely see some walks if there's not a bunch of traffic on the bases. To wrap things up, game 1 of the World Series is tonight, and we are all going to get the chance to see this young kid make his 7th start in the MLB overall in the World Series, which is absolutely crazy to say. It's crazy to even think about, but it makes sense for the Blue Jays because the guy is pitching super effectively, and all he has to do is do it for a couple more games. And at this point, you kind of don't know what you don't know. This is a huge spot, and there would be veteran pitchers who would be almost shaking in their boots. But I think for a young guy who doesn't really fully understand the situation that he's being put into, I think it could play to his advantage a little bit. But if I did wake up tomorrow morning and I saw that Yesavage gave up 5 runs in the first 3 innings, I also would not be surprised at all. This is a Dodgers lineup that has menaces all over it, and like I said, Ohtani crushes splitters, so that's a little worrisome. Either way you look at it, it's going to be super interesting, and I think it's a very, very fun storyline for this World Series, especially in Game 1. I can't wait to watch it, and I can't wait to watch this series as a whole. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen. Let me know how you think Yesavage will pitch in the World Series. That's all I have for today's video. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.